Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Literary Hour. Thank you for joining us. Our group is growing. With me is my co-host and professor, K. Moses Nagbe. Hi, Prof.
Hi, Jackie. Nice to be back.
Yeah, so today's Friday, Prof.
Yeah, it's another Friday.
Yeah,
But
and
this one
and
is a
of
bit
course,
exciting.
we will not forget to tell our viewers and to mourn with our viewers for the passing of Dr. Emma Sawyer. Yeah, a great patriot.
Yes,
That's
we
what we're talking about
appreciate
today.
that. Yeah,
A great
very
patriot
much
who has
so.
passed.
Yeah,
Um, what is
so
it? A
sorry.
tree has fallen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prof.
The
You
tree.
you knew him, so tell us a little bit before we go into.
Those who knew him fondly knew him as uh, AS. Some call him Moose. Yes, and you know, in uh, in uh, the Kwa indigenous language. When someone has so mastered a thing, then in a way of celebrating that person will say he was there when God distributed that particular skill. And so AS, Moose, Dr. Sawyer, people will say that he was there when God distributed the skill of speaking, the skill of using his voice for people. So Dr. Sawyer generally was a very approachable person. He was affable, and some of us grew up in their hands. I'm talking about Dr. Sawyer. I'm talking about Dr. Tipote and what have you. And so those who might want to castigate us will say that's Tipote boys, that's Sawyer boys, and all those. That's how they will. Yes, that's how they will characterize us. So I knew him significantly to be able to say that I'm proud to have been in his company. He brought us into the understanding of politics and all that. And so his passing is to say that it was a blow is just to put it mildly. He, whenever he knew you, whenever he interacted with you, whenever he worked with you or you work with him, he was a treat to deal with. All the jokes and all that kind of pulling little pranks here and there. I think I speak for many, especially of the 1970s who went to the University of Liberia. I think I speak for them when I say that Dr. Sawyer was a humane person. He was a humanitarian. When he was in your corner, he was in your corner. And so I'll miss him, and I'm sure many people will miss him as well.
Yeah, I met him at the Liberian Studies Conference in Lebramapo. He was the
Yeah,
keynote speaker
yeah, that's
at
right.
that time. Yeah. I mean, and of course, I knew him from the University of Liberia
Yeah.
when they would chase us for protesting. He would always come and give us some good talks.
I there's one incident. He when he was running for the mayoral position, he and Chuchu Houghton.
Yeah.
Yes, and there was a moment when he spoke at LU, and there was a mammoth turnout. People had to push other people to make him and Dr. Tipote and a few other people. It was like a sea of people, and he walked up there. Chuchu Houghton didn't show up.
Oh.
Chuchu Houghton, I guess they felt the heat of it all. And at that time, I was living in West Point. That was in 1977. And a whole group of us, we ran all the way from LU all the way to Waterside, and we were chanting his name. I can never forget that particular moment.
Glory days, Prof.
Yeah,
Glory days.
yeah. So may his soul rest in peace, really.
But Prof, yeah, I wish they would have mayoral debates again, so people can tell what they're gonna do to make the
Yes.
city clean. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, very, very sad, very sad.
Yes.
Yeah, very sad.
Mhm.
So today a patriot has fallen, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about patriotism and nationalism,
Yes.
and as we say, all the things in between.
Yes. All the things in between.
Prof, patriotism is,
Mhm.
I think people get happy when they say, "Oh, you're a patriot,"
Yes. Mhm.
and when you and I were doing research, it's
Yeah.
from the Greek word "patrios," which means father,
Yeah.
of my father.
Yeah. Of my
So
father.
yeah,
Yes.
of my father. So patriotism is something good,
Yes.
so we can say, "Oh, this man is a patriot," which would
Yeah.
be like the highest calling,
Yeah.
the highest honor we can give somebody for the land, and
Yes.
that
For the
person
land.
loves
Yes.
it. Whereas nationalism, and from another Greek word, natium,
Yeah.
nationim, which
Yeah.
means tribe,
Yeah.
that has gotten a bum rap, Prof.
Yeah.
Nationalism kind of like sounds bad, whereas patriotism sounds good.
Yeah. And yet, of course, if you put it in context, you will find out that, yes, uh, for detractors, nationalism might be bad, but nationalism carries with it a sense of defense. You understand that, especially in the heydays of the fight for independence,
Yeah,
it came more with colonialism and imperialism and all that kind of a thing. And those people whose space was being threatened decided that, no, you cannot tread on my land. You cannot tread on my land and go free with it. I've got to put up a defense. So
yeah.
you find out the race for independence in Ghana, race for independence in Kenya, the Mau Mau,
Mau
and
Mau,
all, yes,
ZANU, PF,
ZANU, PF,
ANC.
yes, ANC, all those people there.
Yeah. And nationalism in that framework
Yeah.
is something good.
Yes.
They're fighting. I guess
Mhm.
I guess uh, uh, um nationalism and patriotism was almost interchangeable in the
Yes.
beginning.
Yes, in the
In
beginning.
the beginning,
Uh-huh.
but now nationalism has morphed into my land and
Yeah.
my tribe or whatever
Yes.
is superior to yours.
Exactly. So nationalism has brought on a kind of feistiness.
Yeah, yeah,
Again, it's, as I'll say, it's more of a defense strategy. Is a defense type of honor. A whole thing about space, the claiming of space and what have you, and therefore, the colonizers went in there and it was like, no, this is not your land. This is not your. You've got to keep in mind, this is not your land. And if you come in here and you say that you are going to rule my land, no, over my dead body, are you going to do that? So patriotism will come in the time of peace, in the time of calm, and nationalism will come in the time of threats and all that kind of a thing.
are you sure, Prof?
Yes, 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 of course. When you talk about nationalism, it once your group, your group, your cultural nation is threatened, then of
Yeah.
course. So
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 so so
so
patriotism is like a fixed.
yeah, fixed in
So I
terms.
love my country.
Yeah, I love my country. Yes,
Yeah.
I love my
But
country.
nationalism comes with even Pan-Africanism in a way could be a nationalist movement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
The black movement, the
yeah.
negritude movement, of
Yes,
course, is a
yes,
nationalist movement.
yes.
So
See,
so patriotism, Prof,
yeah,
the way I see it is that patriotism comes with borders,
yeah,
nationality.
yeah.
But what
Okay.
patriotism comes with my land.
Okay.
But I can be nationalist about something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be land or
For
home.
example,
For example, that's what we're saying. Pan-Africanism,
uh-huh.
negritude is a
Movement, of course,
nationalist
within
movement.
the context of movement, yes, within the context of movement, and even movement has with it the question of overprotectiveness. That's when you have,
Identity, yeah. And
yes,
identity, yeah.
you see.
So, so, so if we look at African nationalism, then we can say it was successful, right? Because if because one of the papers said it started in the 1940s. I
Mhm,
mean, it started patriotism and nationalism started way before in Ethiopia,
mhm,
before even the Christians, right? They
mhm.
defended their land.
Yeah.
But African nationalism was successful because by the 1990s, all of the African countries were free.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Western
Mhm.
Sahel is still
Yeah,
there. South
yes.
Sudan wasn't at the time,
Yeah.
but yeah. So the nationalist movement worked at that time because they were
Yeah.
able
Because
to
that was a core goal. The core goal was independence.
yeah.
The core goal was kicking out imperialists, kicking out the colonizers. Yes. So within that context, we will say, and yet right now, what is happening is a kind of re-engineering. Before independence, it was we want independence.
Yeah.
Now, after independence, it's more of let us situate ourselves in a way to use our resources to command respect, to use our resources to make sure that those who ought to have even the minimum of existence are given the opportunity to do so.
And yet people are talking about this uh, 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 um, this nationalism evolving, right? Anthony Appiah, he says that um, now it's just global citizen because people travel so much. Sometimes you're born in one country, you move to another country, you've lived there. So this global identity, what he calls, right,
Well,
encompasses different nationalities.
well,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's no fixed nationality. So then you become the global citizen.
The thing about it, when thinkers, to establish their own relevance, when they begin to tweak phrases and concepts and what have you, I feel uneasy about it. You see, because there has to be a starting point. If I'm an African, I don't care. I go to Europe and what have you. We can talk about global citizen and other. I am a Liberian. So there has to be that essence, that essence of belonging. There has to be that essence of relevance. So whatever I know and can do and what have you, yes, but always, even in your dreams, Jackie, even in your dreams, you will find out that the place that nurtured you will kind of flood your dreams. We kind of populate your dream. Yes, we will move from there and come to America and go to other places and whatever. And we talk about all these nationalities and global citizen and what have you. For me, I kind of coy away from that. Except, of course, you want to add something you wanted to
No
add.
problem. What I'm saying is that in your perfect world,
Yeah, perfect word.
what you're saying is that, oh, yes, you're patriotic, you're
Yeah,
nationalistic
yeah,
because they have this element of commonality, which is blackness.
yes,
Okay, but not everybody feel that way.
yeah,
So I'm saying that you can be, when you say I'm patriotic, is to a land,
yeah. Okay,
is
to a
to a
line.
fixed boundary.
I buy that. I buy
Yeah.
that. Yes.
But I can be in Germany,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And I could be not patriotic at all about
yeah,
Liberia,
mm,
right? But I can be very nationalistic about the negritude movement. That's
oh,
not a
okay.
fixed concept.
Oh,
That's, to me, patriotism is land,
yeah,
homeland,
yeah.
but nationalism can be an ideal. You can be faithful to an ideal,
Well,
and
that's
the
that's why
ideal can move.
perhaps the best thing you want to do is there has to always be a qualifier.
Okay.
If there isn't any qualifier, and one says I'm nationalistic, it it will beg a question. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As a movement, yes, like you talk about Pan-Africanism, yes. In fact, it was the idea of wanting to be inclusive of those on the continent and those out of the continent, and yet being black, that people thought about national what Pan-Africanism.
But Prof, that's exactly my point.
Uh-huh.
because we thought, or the people back then thought, that by this element of blackness
Yes.
would be the unifier.
Yes.
But it wasn't.
Uh,
You know, there were people who were very nationalistic, right? Black nationalists,
yes.
right? But there were other people who did not feel that way. So I guess, like you say, within nationalism, there are all these nuances,
Nuances.
that
Variants.
make people to say, well, I'm nationalistic about this. Okay, say let's take Liberia before we go on into the literature, because we're doing literary hour. Okay, let's take Liberia, right?
Yeah.
We just celebrated 200 years, right? People are very patriotic. They came out. They were very nationalistic. They were happy. You know, they came out with their clothes. They came out to talk about 200 years and what all that happened. So that was patriotic pride, right? In Liberia, one can be patriotic, love their country, right? And still be nationalistic, like, I'm a gribble woman. You know what I'm saying? So within patriotism, there can be nationalism.
Of course. That's what
But
I'm saying.
can there be can there be within patriotism there can be nationalism? But in nationalism, can there be patriotism?
Of course. That's
How,
what.
Prof? Because when we talk about patriotism, we're talking about fixed boundaries. We're talking about something bigger.
Yes. But
Yes.
what I'm saying is that especially within the case of nationalism, there's got to be a qualifier. If there's no qualifier, then of course, it's at a loose end, and people will seek to. It will be like this. There's a question that has to be answered within the context of. But with patriotism, it's just plain on its face what it is. But in nationalism, are you talking about the terms of movement? Are you talking about what are you really talking about?
Not in terms of movement. I'm with nationalism. I'm just saying that you can be fixed to an idea.
Yes,
You
that's
know,
what
and that's what I'm saying. But the bad connotation now has become because of the nationalist. The
and
undertone is my thing is superior to yours,
yes,
and that's when it becomes bad.
and also I don't care what happened. I'm gonna be defensive about it. That's what you're telling the people. I'm gonna be defensive about
Defensive,
it.
yeah,
Yes, you see.
yeah.
So it's again, that's when I often throw this word in, and then you smile. There has to be an intentionality to
Intentionality.
to the idea of, but patriotism, it's clear on its face. But when you talk about nationalism, someone will say, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yet you are right, especially when you said that from the beginning. Some of these words, as soon as certain things begin to come, some certain forces and voices begin to come into a concept, then of course there has to be a delineation of what you mean and what you don't mean. When it comes to nationalism, people think about what's been going on in Israel and the Palestinian cause and all that kind of a thing. And normally, I don't know why it is happening. Perhaps talking about it, we will know about it. When you have an indigenous group and you have a so-called settler group, the settler group comes in and wants to erase the history of the indigenous, and that creates a very serious friction. You go to whether it's in Canada, in New Zealand, all these places there. Once you have settlers coming in and wanting to dominate, then the people say, well, no, you are what? You are crossing a red line, and that's where those things come in. And when these people begin, I'm talking about the indigents, when they begin to fight for their place, then people say they are rough, they are uncouth, and all that kind of thing. But you created the what? You created the environment for this person to become uncouth, as you want to call it.
Okay, since we're doing literature, let's read a very patriotic poem. I found this when I was looking for my darling Eloise. Okay, so this poem was written in 1897 by
Yeah.
Edwin James Barclay
Okay. All right.
when he was 14 years old.
How about that?
Yeah. So I'll read it, and it goes like this: Liberia, tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, thy child doth sing. Land where our fathers die, land of the Negro pride, back to thy mighty side, thy sons we bring. Or at times we hear them say, O souls across the bay, will ye not come? Come, rally around the flag.
Mm-hmm.
O sons, why do you lag? Come and uphold the flag with sword and gun.
Hmm.
That's a
How about,
patriotic poem.
how about that? And one of the things I'd like to add quickly here is that talking about literature, uh, the two most important conveyors of patriotism and nationalism are autobiographies and biographies. This is where real people talk about the struggles they've gone through, the conflicts they've been able to deal with, and how they've been able, not only themselves, but how their groups have been able to establish the sense of belonging and the sense of relevance. So,
And we said that. We
yeah,
said that it was so sad that Marcus Matthews didn't do an autobiography,
yes,
and now Amos
that,
Sawyer is
yeah,
gone.
Dr. Sawyer,
You know,
yes,
can you imagine the stories he would have, the histories that he would
yes.
have
Can
told
you
if he had
imagine that?
done an autobiography?
Yes.
You know, this is a man who saw change of
Tension.
government, very, I mean milestones in
Yes,
in Liberia,
yes.
you know, and
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just sad that
That
he
is,
didn't
that's why
get to see.
I was a little happy when Dr. Tipote wrote his life story, even though I hope that he will give a second part or a third part to that story, going in detail about, it's they when they started out, they were, many of them will congregate at Dr. Tipote's parents' place. It was an open house for them. Every time they went there, food and everything was out there. They were a group working for a cause, and it was an elevating time to either see them or see them work together.
Okay, so now let's talk about literature. Let's talk about patriotism in things in books like Things Fall Apart. What do
Mm.
you think?
Well,
Do you think Okongo was a patriot?
of course, he was, again, a bit of nationalism will come in there. He
Yeah,
was in utter defense of his people, and so you will label him both as a patriot and a nationalist.
yeah, and of course with Ngugi's River Between
Yeah.
and A Grain of Wheat.
Yes.
Yeah,
And even
Usman Semben, you know, he talked about how the nationalist movement had morphed
yeah.
and have begun oppressing the people.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Uh-huh.
it wasn't like, okay, we got rid of the colonizers and now we can start helping our people.
And not to cut you off, Jackie, that is more of situating. You
Yeah,
know, after you fight the colonizers away, the next reality is that, okay, we've come into our own. How can we make it better for everyone? Because remember now that we thinking about communalism,
yeah,
the whole idea of making sure that every individual of the cultural nation can benefit in some way from whatever resources that may be available. And it is the challenge to do that now that's been the problem post independence in Africa.
yeah. And I had the book. That's why I'm looking all around. Wretched of the Earth.
Yes, okay.
Prince Fanon talked about the pitfalls
Yes,
of nationalism.
yes,
You know, and he talks about how when the work is done,
yes.
and you're done, then this nationalism takes the form of neo-colonialism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course it starts to
And
morph
and
into something
and,
else. Yeah,
and that is sad. That is sad.
yeah,
We haven't gotten the panacea of the problem.
yeah,
It's a problem. you have all these people clamoring for independence, and they are together. And now the danger, the risk, the threat has been removed now. The question is, how do we constitute ourselves to make sure that we all, whether high or low, can benefit from whatever we were fighting for?
He talks about cultural nationalists.
Yes.
But he talked about the political, I guess, nationalists, or if you can call them that. That you see, when you're fighting for, I guess, freedom, you know, you make alliances, right, to become stronger.
Yeah.
But what he says in this pitfall of nationalism is that in your alliances, right, they are alliances, but they are not allegiances,
Yes.
because you have not discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see this person in power,
Yeah.
right, and they are living a good life, a
Yeah.
lavish life. Have you asked, the genius is this how life should be?
Yeah.
Is this what a leader should do?
Yeah.
Because once you discuss that and you say no, then when you get there, you say, okay, now let me show you what a leader can be. But he said that most of the movements, all they wanted was, I want some. I want to be there. I want to be there. So it was not a nationalist movement for country.
Yeah.
It was a nationalist movement for self.
Yes.
Yes,
And
for self.
again, that is a very important observation, because that is one thing that destroy the whatever plan the coup days in Liberia would have projected. It came to a point where people became what turf war. There was not a value construct that people would kind of aspire to and make sure was sustained. Once something of that nature was not there, those who got there were just there for themselves. And that is something that kind of metastasized the problem that we are in today. This phenomenon is not peculiar to the Liberian coup, but all others. So that's why, for instance, those who've read it can relate to Animal Farm so well. George Orwell.
Yeah.
The whole idea that you decide, well, we are going to remove this threat, and the whole idea is just towards the threat. But what happens after the threat? What happens after the threat has been removed? Can we reconstitute ourselves? Can we come to a bargaining table to ensure that nothing out of the ordinary does not disturb the opportunity or the set of opportunities available to ensure that we have a more palatable type of society, by virtue of people responding to the education needs, the health needs, and all those other needs.
And so let's look at some pieces of literature.
Okay.
And see how because really, if you look at African literature, yes, there's patriotism, there's nationalism, but somehow it's always in response to colonialism. I love my land. These people want to take it away.
Cannot.
So it's always in response to the other, and the other is almost always outside. So Prof, today I get to read my Song of Lawino.
Yes, okay.
So in Song of Lawino, Okot Bitek talks about the West, right, and Africa,
clashing cultures.
Yeah, the cultures, and how what's his name, man? Oko, right? Oko goes abroad and gets a Western woman, right, and comes back. So Lawino is lamenting about Okot, and she says, in the chapter that says, "My husband's tongue is bitter," right? She says, "My husband's tongue is bitter like the roots of the Loyonyo lily.
Mm-hmm.
My husband pours scorn on black people. He behaves like a hen that eats its own egg, a
Hmm.
hen that should be in prison. Listen, Oko, you are the son of the chief. And then he says, husband, now you despise me. Now you
Hmm.
treat me with spite.
Yes.
Now you compare me with the rubbish. You say you no longer want me because I'm like the things left behind in the deserted homestead. You
Hmm.
insult me. You
Hmm.
laugh at me. You
Hmm.
say I do not know the letter A because
Hmm.
I have not been to school and I have not been baptized. You compare me with a little dog.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What a
So take
language.
care. Yeah. So anyway, so this now is her trying to, in a way, she's nationalistic,
Yeah.
for her culture.
Yes.
Yes, for her culture, because
Yes.
he says black people are primitive and their ways are utterly harmful.
Hmm.
Their dances are mortal sins. They are ignorant, poor, and diseased. Oko says he is a modern man,
Hmm.
a progressive and civilized man,
Hmm.
and he can no longer live with a thing like me. He
Hmm.
said, I'm just a village woman. And she
Hmm.
goes on and on, right?
So
And then
such
she talks,
Jeremites.
yeah. And she talks about Clementine.
Hmm.
He wants her to be like Clementine, who looks like a white woman. Her
Hmm.
lips are red hot, like glowing charcoal. She resembles the wild cat that has dipped its mouth in blood. Yeah. So anyway, and Lawino is a nationalist for her culture, and
Yes.
and so what would Okot be? So Okot, Prof. Okot says to her, "Woman, shut up. Pack your things and go. Take all the clothes I bought you." And he says, "Song of the woman is like a confused noise." So he goes on and he talks about how he will destroy the culture.
Hmm.
Yeah, he will obliterate
Wow.
tribal boundaries, and he will throttle native tongues to
Hmm.
dumb death.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. What is Africa to me? Blackness,
Hmm.
deep fathomless darkness. Africa
Hmm.
basking in the sun. Disease with a chronic illness. This man that didn't play, prof. So anyway, song of Lawino, song of occult could be a nationalist.
Yes.
Is it
It
sonnet? Is it a
is.
sonnet? What is
It,
it, prof?
well, it won't be it's on because actually it's 14. It should be 14
But
lines.
that man went on and on. So it's
Iambic
that, yeah. So
pentameter.
it's not. But okay. But but
The,
but
the thing about it is that such lines are so powerful. That's what I
mhm.
see. Scathing in terms of you know that quarrel that it kind of epitomizes this whole clash in culture at its zenith. At its zenith, that's what you see in the words the man is using, see the words the lady is using, because they cannot come into a commonality of understanding as far as their existence is concerned. This other one, the man who came from Europe or wherever,
Yeah.
and is sure, definitely sure of his impeccable understanding of the words, and therefore is protecting, wants to throttle. Throttle is a,
Throttle.
yeah, throttle is a very it's like squeezing the neck so much that even the tongue is hanging out, and that's so you can see what is happening over there. And the lady is actually, as you say, the lady is really the both the nationalist as well as the patriot in context of loving and defending
Yeah.
uh, his people
Yeah.
that he love and all that. That's why, of course, I normally, when we talk about these ethnic groups, I call them cultural
Yeah.
nations, because actually a nation evolves from a set of ancestral uh, ancestral personalities and what have you. That's why you have Gandhi. You will find stories that will run from the very beginning of the tribe to the very top. Grebo, crew, and then at some point, of course, they may spread out, but the variance in terms of even dialects and what have you will not destroy the fact of the language of that they each speak.
Before we move on, Prof, because we there are other pieces of literature we should. What do you think? Do you think that people who reside or who are born in a specific terrain or
Yeah.
boundary,
Mhm.
do you think that like nature and nurture?
Yeah.
Do you think that patriotism is taught or is something that you already have?
I think some of these things they are foundational uh, instincts, and those instincts are then solidified. That is why those who a kind of try as much as possible to show love and to teach love. That is why sometimes they are aware. How many times, except for now, how many times did an American not go to other places and say, "I am an American," and you can't? How many times uh, doesn't a Chinese go somewhere and is proud to call himself or herself a Chinese by virtue of those things that were hammered in and hammered in? I bring that to even Ghana. When I was there as a refugee in Ghana, most people would say Ghana is the best. That statement, even if it got to be irritating, a Ghanaian didn't care. The language has something to inculcate into these people that Ghanaians are the best. The use of regional languages. You have Chui, Akan, and all those places, and Ga, depending on where you are and what have you. So all these things, language and some sort of inclusivity. Sometimes it may not be as perfect as people want it to be, but all these things you were talking about, whether patriotism is taught. Yes, you see, because that's where you get to know that you belong
Yeah.
to the group. That's where you know that you have relevance in the group. So
The reason
yes, come
so
again.
sorry.
Yes. So the thing about it is that even though the foundational instinct is there, especially growing up 3 years old, 4 years old, and 5 years old, there has to be something that can enhance the love, that can intensify the love. That's where, yes, they need to teach. We talk about civic education.
Yeah.
All these things, because when people understand the system, when people understand the little things that bring them together, definitely they feel that they are part of the whole.
Yeah, I think that uh like we talk about nature and nurture, I think
Yeah,
that you're right that when you reside in a place or you're born in a place, there are things that you learn,
yeah,
but it's experiences and things that solidify it,
yes.
and then and sometimes interestingly enough, when you leave the place, sorry, it's Siri is answering me.
Mhm,
When you leave the place,
mhm.
that is when sometimes your love grows more,
Yeah,
is intensified,
yes,
because you start to either compare it to
yes,
where you reside at the current
yes,
time, or
yes,
you start to think, oh, it's and I always say that my father loved Liberia.
yes.
My father loved this. I mean, when I say, why don't you go home? He said, I am home. He said, you speak
Uh-huh.
like a foolish girl. This man loved Liberia. And I remember, I mean, I've written about this, so this is not um, any surprise. I remember when I came back, I did my exchange in Colorado and I went back home. And I was already ready to leave now. I come back to Colorado. And my father said, no, you will get your degree from the university. And this is not even a Liberian man.
Yes,
He said, you are not going back. And I cried and I cried. And he said, no, you will stay in this country,
yes.
And so that's what happened. And when I
The-
went to the
mhm,
university,
mhm.
in the paper that I wrote, I said, I fell in love with my country.
Yeah,
I said, what is this place? And
yeah,
I said to myself that had I left, I would have never, have that love.
you
That's
you
intense love that I
yeah,
have for my country. Yeah. So I think that sometimes experiences, sometimes when you leave, but I think that, yeah, people can live, and you, as a little child, do you love Liberia? Yeah, I love
yeah,
Liberia, of course. But to really be a patriot, or somebody who really love,
yeah.
I would think that it grows over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remind me of Noah Webster, one of the great thinkers in the area of education in the United States of America. He warned in the early days, the 13 colonies and all. He warned America against the embarrassing love they had for England. They said, what he said, what is wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
You left that place, you are here,
Yeah.
and you must make this place your own.
Yes.
And one of the things he said is that if a child is in, say, according to what is, it's like if a child is in middle school
Yeah.
and you send that child away from home, it is likely that child will not be your own anymore.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said something to the effect that if that child completes college before going, something is buried in that person, something is affluent in that person, and therefore he or she cannot so easily leave that idea of having had a home, that
Yeah.
idea of having had roots. And
Yeah.
that is one of the things, I'm sorry, that's going to happen, especially in our wartime, where people have traveled even at a very tender age, or maybe 4 or 5, and cannot understand or will not have understood what it means to be a Liberian, what it means to be a Ghanaian, what it means to be whatever. So the thing about it is that there has to be a cutoff point at which a lot of things are inculcated into that child, so that when that child leaves, uh, the thing that's being imparted into him or her will not so easily leave.
Yeah. And one thing that I always find interesting is that people just assume that if you're in Liberia or in any other country, you're patriotic. Some of the most unpatriotic people reside in the boundaries of
Yeah,
that country.
yeah,
You do not have to be physically present
yeah,
to love a country.
yeah.
Yeah. And I want to read Edward Wilmer Blyden.
Hmm.
Yeah, of course, Pan-Africanism, blackness is a nationalist movement.
Yeah.
But thinking about the 200 years, and how this little country really, like I said in my piece, you know, it stumble and stumble.
Hmm.
This is very interesting. This is about patriotism. So Blyden writes, and I quote, I am persuaded that when Liberia shall have passed through the struggles of infancy and the necessary drawbacks incidental to national inexperience, the regions beyond will be rapidly filled up with a thriving population, right? This is it, and please hold it up continually as an axiom that there can never be any proper or healthful development of national life on that coast without the Aborigines. That
Mhm.
him talking, he said that this you must inculcate upon every immigrant whom you send out. They cannot transplant America to Africa
Hmm.
and keep it America still.
Mhm.
If they do not change their animum, they change their collium, and that collium, however men may ignore it, it has a wonderful influence. We shall have America in Africa, but Africanized. To have vitality and growth, it must be Africanized.
Hmm.
The whole of the present system in Liberia, constructed in experience, may die out, but Liberia will live.
Hmm.
I love that phrase,
Yeah.
Prof.
But Liberia will live.
Death is sometimes necessary in the process of national as well as vegetable growth.
Hmm.
Except a grain of corn fall into the ground and
Hmm.
die,
Hmm.
it
Very good teaching.
abideth
Hmm.
alone. And if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Liberia will live.
Live.
I
Hmm.
love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 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 That's Blyden now. The preacher man who
Yes.
wants to infuse scriptures and all those in whatever he writes about.
And Blyden wrote this, I think, when he was in Sierra Leone.
Mm,
You
mm,
see,
mm, mm.
let me be very clear about that. So
And
he's writing Gladstone. This
yeah,
Liberia will live is to, to William Coppinger
yeah,
with the ACS. Yeah,
yeah, you know,
so you're right when you're talking about a child
yeah,
leaving home. You know, he's saying that, look, it's like a seed or a fruit. The fruit has to die before
yeah,
it can
yeah,
regenerate.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so yes, Liberia may be part of America, but we need an Africanized
yes, yes.
country.
In
You
in
know,
a sense, it may call for even bringing agricultural terms. You talking about grafting,
yeah,
where you see the stump of a tree and you skillfully graft on a a particular a tree that will the base will simply provide the water, but the the product, okay, the produce that is going to come out of that is going to represent what we want. But the process has to be intentional. The process has to be thought through. The process has to be purposeful. Otherwise, nothing good. And that is the purposefulness that Blyden was responding to.
yeah, because I mean, it's clear to see that even the settlers, when they came, some of them, they became so imbued with nationalist pride
Yes.
for Liberia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, some of them was, I mean, look at Elijah Johnson.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been looking. Say, when you say for, I
Yeah.
know, 15
For
years, I've
two
been looking for
for
a land.
two long
Too
years I've
long
stayed
years,
at
I've been
home.
looking for a land.
Now
You
I
you
found
you
a
say
home.
it, quote. You say it,
Yeah.
Prof.
Huh?
No,
Huh?
I say you please quote it. Say the quote.
For 2 long years I've sought a home. Here have I found one, and here will I remain.
Yes. And people make mistake and say, oh, he was saying it to the indigenous. No, it was to the British.
Ah, it
The
was saying,
British.
what are you talking about? It was saying to the British. What?
Yeah.
What
No,
are you
but
talking
somebody,
about?
sometimes when I'm listening, I see a lot of people having no. It was the British
Yeah.
who, when the settlers, when the indigenous people kept fighting the
Yes, yes,
settlers needed help.
yes,
And the British war boat was passing.
yes, and
And the
wanted
captain
to.
stopped and said, Lord, we will help you to deal with these people, but
Yeah,
just let
yeah,
us plant our
yeah,
flag.
yeah, yes, of course. And there's two quotes that this guy is famous for.
Yes.
Yeah, the first one is what we talk about, and of course, that was the first one was in context of even some of the America-bred Africans. They wanted to return home, diseases and all those kind of things and what have you, and they kept nudging him and what have you. That's where
Yeah.
he said, and then with the British thing coming, but the other important one was this guy suggesting that, well, let's plan.
He said, I want your flag
Yeah,
there.
he said, let's plant your flag here so that we will have. He said,
Uh-uh.
what's wrong with you? He said, it's like talking in nowadays English, where I mean Liberian English. God swear me,
Yeah.
Boko bo in my head.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you plant your flag here. It will be it will it will be easier for us to deal with these guys here than to have your
Take
flag,
it
because
down.
when the time comes for us to remove it, that trouble. Otherwise, they had
But,
been
but
seeing.
Prof, you see, that other history that, I mean, we learned that in school. He
Yeah,
said it will cost more
yes,
to take that flag down than for you
yes,
to plant
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Elijah Johnson.
Elijah Johnson. Again, talking about those who will be immortalized. uh, Elijah Johnson should be one of them. But you were saying something. I haven't been following. You say they've celebrated the 200 years already.
Yeah, it's a year-long celebration, but it was
Because
launched. No, Prof. You see, you had to go on Facebook.
no,
It
it
was
was
launched on Monday.
yes.
They had festivities. No, what I'm saying is that
Oh,
it's ongoing.
now
Yes.
you make my, like they say, now you make my heart lay down.
Yeah, no,
Now, yeah,
it's a year-long celebration.
because you will remember that it was in April 18
Yes.
22, that the land was bought and things began to roll here and there.
Yeah.
So if there's anything, it will be around April that The real 200 years I was talking
That's
about.
when they moved from the island.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
the other place
To
there.
the other
Yes.
place. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but it's yeah, I think it's befitting, you know. I mean, I know people talk about it, bicentennial but I mean, there's no country in Africa that has 200 years.
Yes.
You know, it's something to really be proud of.
Yeah.
Like we say, even Ethiopia was colonized in 1935 by the
Yes.
Italians.
Yes.
But Liberia,
Yeah, has
you know,
to.
200 years.
And and that's all the reason why a home of glorious liberty by God's
By God's
command.
command,
There's home
yeah.
of glorious liberty by God's command.
Yeah. And the patriotism, a lot of the papers and things that come, you can see that it was really wrapped up in religion.
Yeah.
You know, like this country was destined.
Yes.
You know, it was predetermined by God that this will be the place.
Yes.
You know, and so a lot of the patriotic letters and things that were happening at the time, they always had God in it.
Yeah.
You know, this was the land that God had given them. But coming back to nationalism, Prof. So we said that sometimes people say that you shouldn't be using nationalism because it's a bad word. The connotation now is that it's bad. You know, like white nationalism, white power, things like that.
Yeah.
But if the only, I would say that it gets bad when the sense of superiority comes in.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
part of it.
I mean, for negritude, for the Mau Mau movement, for the ANC, you know, for ZANU PF, all of those even our own PAL, is it PAL? Progressive Alliance, all of those things, yeah, they grew out of a nationalistic pride, you know. So like Frantz Fanon said, those things were not bad. They become bad when you don't discuss what it is you want. What is the underpinnings of this nationalist movement?
Beyond this,
that's
what?
what happens. Yeah.
Beyond this, what?
Yeah.
I
So
see a lot
let's
of,
read some comments. If we
yes,
have
I
comments,
see a lot of them here.
our people have been quiet today. They're not talkative like they
No,
when we talk about
are
love.
here. They are here. Oh. I see a lot in the chat room. Yes, great.
Jerome Gimmer says great song. William King say he's here. Hello, William.
Yeah.
Sua Mapu say happy Friday, Jackie and Prof. Excited to be here. This is Margaret. Oh, what happened? Margaret got a different name. Margaret, how are you doing? Accept my Prof. We have to go and accept Margaret request.
Okay.
Yes, her friend. Yes, Stanley says watching. Hi, Stanley. It's Swa again. Swa says we have to watch her request. Daniel, Daniel, you and I have to discuss something. Yeah. I hope you're well. Watching from San Diego. We want to introduce the Bassa Vi as a curriculum to the Daisy Bopa Academy in Mowe District. My love for Mowe has grown so much.
Okay, that's
and he's doing phenomenal things there with his school.
Is that right?
Yeah. He said, I used to laugh at my dad and Uncle Abba Kanga in the late 1960s and 70s when they would speak the old Bassa and write in the Bassa Va alphabet. Yes. Oh, I wish I had learned it. Daniel, you're not alone. My great grandmother, when she used to be speaking Gribble, you know, we teach us, and we learn all the cuss words, but we didn't learn anything. Blyden's vision of a heterogeneous Liberia never saw the light of day until Talbot came to the stage.
Yeah.
Stanley said, this is completely refreshing, rich history. Yeah. We tried to, Hey, Eugenia, how are you?
How you doing?
Yes, we try to move away from history a little bit because sometimes I get so annoyed, Prof, when I read. I'm like, that's not what they say. Yeah. You know, but we come back to patriotism and nationalism, and it's all over. You know, I mean, there's no country that you will say they do not have some sort of nationalism, even if they have patriotism. You know, there's that poem. I've forgotten who wrote it. Let me see if I can. It's in my notes. It's by Tennyson, I think. Yeah.
Alfred Lord
Tennyson. No, not Alfred Lord Tennyson, Prof. We
Which
shouldn't
translate? Which
can
which which
allow on a
translation?
man. It's by Sir Walter Scott.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, Sir
Well,
Walter Scott.
okay.
And it's just if the first two lines. I mean, the first three lines say, "Breathe dead the man with soul so dead, who never to himself had said, 'This is my own, my native land.'"
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. I like that this is my own, my native land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So come back to the topic of patriotism in Liberia, Prof. What kind of what literature do you think is patriotic? Like Mystic Reformation of Gondolia?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Mhm. And even Sanghaulo's The Rain and the
Reading
Night.
at Night. Yeah, the Reading at Night.
It is at the level of uh, cultural nations, because you're talking
Yeah,
about the Gola and the Kwele,
the Pella. Yeah,
and it's within the context of Kwele. Koluba, who is sent out to fight, he dies, and his body is brought home, and there the chief, uh, Kotuma, makes a very stirring type of statement befitting the occasion. You know, uh,
one book, Prof. We haven't dealt with it. It's about Liberia, but not written by Liberia. Red Dots on Green Leaves.
Red Does on Green Leaf.
Yeah.
The right, it's more of um, one of the importance of the part of the importance of that book uh, is about growing up in Africa, the
Yeah.
the indigenous environment that is provided, and how that impacts lives as people grow older. That's an important piece to look at. Yes, and
I think sometimes.
is he that's John Gay, right?
Yeah.
Is he alive? No, he's
I think it was his wife who passed
old. But
away.
okay, very good.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think it was his
I know
wife.
he must be old now. John Gay.
I think that I lost my train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
I I, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to say that I think that the themes, the subjects in a book,
Mm-hmm.
they can elevate the book to whether it's patriotic literature or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a book like um, Voices from the Grassroots,
Voices
it's a
from the
collection of
Grassroots.
poems.
Yes, yes.
But within those poems, are they patriotic poems? Do
Yeah.
they lift the country up?
Yeah.
So I think Voices from the Grassroots is good. Whereas I would not call Murder in Cassava Patch a patriotic
No, it's
novel.
each in a sense evolve with itself.
Yeah,
That's what we find in there. Of course, it tells a little of the dislocation, the displacement of the indigents of the land, especially with financial crisis. Because actually, you remember that the father of Gotokai had just recently come from the Fernando, and
Fernando
he
Poe.
was
Yeah,
disoriented and what have you. And moving from one place to the other, he ended up in a place where he met a lady, and Godokai was born.
yeah. For me, I know the patriot is Chief J.
Yes,
Chief
Chief
J
J.
is a patriot. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah. Chief J is a patriot.
and there happen to be several unsung Chief J's. Yes,
Yes,
several
yes,
unsung Chief J's
yes,
actually.
definitely.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Uh, um. And also Benjamin J.K. Anderson. I think he was a
Yeah,
patriot.
Benjamin
Yeah.
J.K. Anderson.
You
Yes.
know, Prof, one of the persons that people kind of overlook, and when we're doing research, started to read more about him is Paul Coffey.
Paul Coffey. Yes,
He
Paul
is he
Coffey.
is really an unsung hero because Paul
Mhm.
Coffey,
Yeah.
way before the American Colonization
Yes.
Society, Paul
Yes.
Coffey had made his own money,
Yes.
and
And use the
he
wealth.
got his own boat, and
Yes.
he was the captain of his boat,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and he
Yes.
brought the 40 people to
Yeah.
Chevron.
Precisely. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and went
That
back
later
and
on,
getting
unfortunately.
prepared to bring more people
Yeah.
was when he passed away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
he passed away.
There's a big thing. He died before his dreams were realized. That was a big,
Yes,
a big thing that
yes,
often ended
yes.
his story.
So
Don't be like Paul Coffey. Oh,
yeah. So Paul Coffey was when I read about him, I said, oh, not a lot have been
said
spoken
about
about
this
this
thing.
man, but I mean, this man, I mean, way before the ACS. In fact, he died the year he died in December of that same year.
Yeah.
The ACS was founded.
The thing about it is that I haven't covered the uh, uh, Dr. Don and Co. Book today, the dictionary
Mm,
of I know in that book there are a couple of uh, people who elevated the sense of Liberianness and what have you. But I think there has to be a compendium working merely on the names that did elevate Liberia,
yeah.
so that you look at we look at the America-bred Africans, you call the settlers or what have you, and then the indigenous Africans. There you will find uh, 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 Faulkner, for instance, Thomas Faulkner. You will find, of course, Blyden is almost like a name known to most people now and what have you. And then you go on the side, Collie Tamba and all those people there, Madam Swakoko. You will have that only and only of names that have meant a whole lot to both the indigenes and the America-bred Africans.
And I think also that you see Liberia's history is so unique
Yeah.
that you cannot discuss Liberian history without somebody feeling offended.
Mm.
You know, and I mean, the other day it almost escalated until I just kind of like took myself away from Facebook for a
Yeah.
while.
Mm.
But the thing is that because of the complexity, like some countries like I don't know Indonesia or
Mhm.
whatever, they have very this is its history.
Yes.
Liberia's history is contested history,
Yes.
and so it will behoove us to come together, those who read, those who have done
Mhm.
research,
Mhm.
and really, because this thing cannot continue.
Yeah.
Everybody giving their own version of history, and people who
Well,
don't do research, they
mm,
accept it. Oh,
mm.
this is it. No, you
Well,
know.
mm,
And I like I was saying, look, the people, the man who bought the man who took by force with the
yeah.
gun, Maserado,
Yeah.
he was not working for the American Colonization Society.
Yeah.
He was working for the American
Yeah.
government.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when the
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, the settlers stole the land,"
Mm.
that didn't even come to
Yeah. Yeah.
play. Stockton was
Mm.
hired
Yes.
by the American government to go and find a place for the
So do a
recaptured
job.
slaves.
Yeah. Do a job.
Do a job. In fact, the people that Paul Coffey brought and the others that were there, they were told not to mix with the indigenous people.
Yeah.
They were expressly told
Yeah.
that. So the people, the person who took Maserado was not the American Liberians.
Mm.
It was Stockton,
Mm.
and Eli Aries was the willing bystander. But the thing I'm
It
saying is
was.
that we need to have people sit down. The papers are available.
Mhm.
Go through, sort,
Mm.
resort. Because like we say, you can't have 100% true representation, but it must be
In the middle.
in the middle. It must be
In
like, yes,
the,
I have cross reference and this
yes.
thing happened. You
the
know,
thing the thing about it, Jackie, guilt is a disease. Guilt is a disease. And when it possesses someone so that that person doesn't have ears anymore and have eyes anymore, then there is a problem. And such people, I can sympathize with them, but I cannot allow their guilt prick a disease to get contagious. That's me. The thing about it is that the land, it was like you buy a small bait of thing and then you railroad yourself through the entire place and what have you.
probably
That
do.
that was true, and that has remained true. If anybody talks about, that's why sometimes, as I told you the last time, sometimes if you want to be so solid about a history thing or what have you, you have to do a bit of other learning in other disciplines like law. Anybody who has done law Anybody who has done law, who has done contracts, cannot come out and say that the land was bought. The land was not bought. And if anybody who out of well, they think the way it happened, so and so, let's talk. No, you must accept that fact and make sure that will teach you a lesson to make sure that going on, you will do things in a better way. That is what we are saying. That is what is being said. What Sayegh is saying?
Liberia, land of the return of what? Return from where? Return of who is returning? How about the country people, children? Are the ones returning from exile, from the diaspora, or what? What exactly do they mean by land of return? Who idea and who is behind this cancer in our culture? I'm sorry, I don't get it. Sad. I think that what they were saying, that I mean, we've kind of branched off from the topic, but I think what they're saying is that there were so many people who left, right, during the war. People who I mean, it wasn't just land of return for the settlers. I think that, like we say, you could anchor this thing in unity to say, whether you're in Guinea, whether you're in Sierra Leone, whether you're in Zambia, you guys come back. That's the land of return. It was more a symbolic thing that they did, but some of the people who returned were not only, it wasn't just, I mean, I, the bicentennial was different from the land of return, the year of return. The year of return happened. The people planned it, and then it happened. But bicentennial, I think, was different, right, Prof?
Yeah, bicentennial. I mean, at the heart of it all, the bicentennial, it's just that people started pumping in voices. That's why they kind of try. But the bicentennial was kind of focusing only on those that are called the America-bred
Yeah,
Africans. That's
yeah,
what it was.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
at some point, it's just has to be. It has to be a matter of inclusivity.
yeah.
So
But
that.
but but that's why I said, Prof. So the year of return is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you are in the world, they're saying, come home, even if it's for that short time, come home. But the bicentennial was saying, you know what? It's been 200 years since the people went to Maserado,
Yes.
went to were on Chevron, and then
Mhm.
came to Providence, and
Yeah.
then Maserado.
Yeah.
It's been 200 years.
Mhm.
So let's celebrate this 200 years, because now this is like the formalization
Yeah.
of the nation of Liberia.
Mhm.
And then July 26th, it will be 175 years
Yeah.
of formal
Wow. Yeah.
independence.
From.
Yeah, so I think because it's also close together, is but the year of return
Mhm.
was a separate group that did the year of return. The bicentennial is the movement from Shepherd to Providence to Cape
Yeah.
Maserado. Yeah, and then of course, then we have 26, which will be after 25 years, we got independence.
Mhm.
So that's it.
Is it well you say it's when you come from the when you come from inland and you arrive at the coast and you bring a packet because someone doesn't want anything to happen to what is in that packet. That person ties the packet so well that you have to take about 5 or so minutes if you don't have a knife to be able to. That is what Liberia is. Liberia is so bundled by so many voices and forces that give birth to this little piece of land that is often intriguing to discuss it.
Yeah.
Probably the denial and all those things are part and parcel of the narrative. Otherwise, if those things were not involved in there, the question is, how will we, so for several months or something like that, sit down here analyzing, talking about it, talking about this and talking about that? So I guess it is part of the package. And so we should celebrate all of it in its convolution and all that.
Because there are so many people, so many groups, And that's what you know, like Carrie Banton's book about the Barbadian migration.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that she will be at the Liberian Studies Conference,
Yeah.
because I really want to interview her or talk to her about that. But there are so many
Mhm.
people, unlike the other countries within Africa where the
Yeah.
slave trade didn't go
Mhm.
because it was
Yeah.
too way in.
Yeah.
We on the coast, so there are people who left, then there are the recaptured,
Yes.
then there are the West Indies,
Yes.
then you have the indigenous. So we are a mixture of
Mhm.
people, and
Yeah.
it will behove us now to, what's Arundhati Roy says about the COVID, that
Yes.
it's a portal. Now it's like a bridge. Now let's
Yes.
cross this bridge and build Liberia, build our country. We are
Yeah.
patriots and we are
Yes.
nationalists,
Yes.
good,
Yes.
good nationalists.
Yes.
So it will behove us to build Liberia. Yeah. So our group was kind of quiet today. You guys, we will be asking all of you, tell us what you would like for us to discuss. We have our own topics, but tell us, like even right now, what is it that you want us to discuss? What do you want us to discuss next week? Say what? Say when? What do you want us to discuss? Eugenia, what is it that you want to hear? William, Daniel, what is it? Because we come here, we do our research, we read, we started to delve into history. We got people. Okay, now we are here. We are going to find our topics, our books. We're going to read. But what is it that maybe you want us to discuss?
Yeah.
Not politics, but what is it? Because I'm telling you, Prof, when we did love, everybody was typing, Mafu was typing, you know. All the comments were there.
Yeah.
So we finished with love now. What you want us to discuss?
So,
Hate?
yeah, I know. Hey, I swear. uh,
Yeah, but let us know, what is it you want? Focus on Liberia at gmail.com.
yeah.
You can send your ideas there so we can discuss
Mhm.
African literature. But we did that. Okay, what kind of African literature? You see,
Yeah.
Eugenia is saying we should go back to African literature.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know which one. We did things fall apart. We did no longer at ease. We did Arrow of God, right, Prof? Yeah,
Yeah.
we did Arrow of God.
Did you do Petals of Blood?
We haven't done Petals of Blood or the Concubine.
Yeah, Concubine.
Yeah. So maybe we will get an African novel. We
Or
will
God's Baits of Wood.
God's Bits of Wood. That's
Yeah.
Susan Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Ama Ata Edo because she deals with women. But
See,
but okay, let's
that's not
go. Let's
fair.
go. Let's put it down. So God's Bits of Wood.
Uh, and again, we're talking about this whole idea of protecting your own. And in God's Baits of Wood, it's a union-directed strike
Yeah.
that goes on in the place there, and the strike leaders are moving from one region of the French uh, territory.
And we have discussed we discuss women, gender,
Yeah.
but we should really discuss women in literature also. So we have God's Bits of Wood or the Concubine,
Mhm.
or even Prof. We could take some of the annual messages of the presidents and discuss that.
Yeah.
So since nobody wants to tell us,
And the thing about, again, there are terms that politics every time don't talk about the thing about politics creates the environment. Politics creates the environment for even any other thing to thrive. So if we are talking about, we shouldn't be apologetic about it. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we shouldn't be.
yeah, because you get to a point. How do you navigate your way to make sure that you get leaders on board that are going to create some level of a playing field that people can participate in, and a kind of have a say in what life is supposed to be in the community, in the country, of course, in the regions, and then in the country. All these things are part and parcel, and so forth. Somebody who wants to keep people quiet so that he or she will do mess will say that, oh, you're doing politics. No, what are you talking about? It is existential. So people should not kind of lay it aside and let some goons go ahead and do their own thing.
So Eugenia said we should do poems.
Their poems, okay.
Remember you and I were talking about so Inca's poem about the telephone call.
Yes, Wole Soyinka. Yes, yes.
So yeah,
Even His Abiku. We
yes,
can look at His Abiku and look at, is it James Pepper Clark? You
the
have
casualties.
no, yeah, casual. But I'm talking about there are two poems people normally the two Abikus. One is by by Wole Soyinka, and the other one is by one of the African poets, especially from Nigeria as well. The one that is pleading, the Abiku that is pleading, and the one that is defiant. The one that is defiant is that uh, by Wole Soyinka, and I think the other one is by Pepper Clark, but I have to check that
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Yeah. Be poems you should know.
Yeah, poems
African poems you
you
should
should
know.
know, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Eugenia, and thank you all for spending your Friday with us.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Prof, comments.
Yeah. We started out by evoking the memory of uh, uh, Moose, Amos Claudius Sawyer. We believe that these people, when they returned from abroad, they had education. If they were selfish, that would put a lot of food on their plates and leave all other people out. But because they knew that whatever they will have will pale in the presence of what will not have been given to everybody or most people, they decided to kind of uh, go on with the cause of making Liberia a very equitable place. So on that note, of course, certain things happen and you have unintended consequences. So there are people who are blaming them for the unintended consequences than looking at the thing that drove them to make sure that our country came to a point of serving all people, serving all Liberians. And so I think within the context of their dream of making Liberia equitable, they should, in most instances, be honored for what struggle they waged in that country.
Yeah. So we bid farewell to a patriot,
Yes,
and say go well,
go well.
and
The ancestors are gone.
yes, and I guess you can go with the knowledge, like Blyden said, Liberia will live.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I want to thank you again for joining us today. We know it wasn't maybe as exciting as love.
Yeah.
Margaret, we didn't see you writing a lot. But we want
Yeah.
to thank you. We know that and sometimes it's very busy, and some of you will watch the show after,
Yeah.
and like I said, if there's something that you want us to discuss, I know Daniel wanted to discuss something, so I'll get back to him.
Mhm.
But if you all want something to discuss, just send it to focusonliberia@gmail.com. And of course, it will be forwarded to us. So thank you for joining us. As we always say, lift Liberia up,
Yeah.
lift the country up. Uh, uh, uh. Joy says she wants to learn laws and whether all land deeds are still valid, given it's been many years, 10, 40 years since we've been in the country. We should bring. We're going to bring Emmanuel the land because they
Yeah.
have
You
ratified the land law. Yeah.
okay? Yeah. Did I hear you read?
Oh, Jerome, yes, yes, yes. Oh, Jerome, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie. I can send you the link. What's his name? Edward Barkley was a poet.
Yeah. Barclay was a bookworm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Barclay.
Jerome, you should
Yeah.
read about
Yeah.
Barkley.
Yeah.
Barkley was writing poems when he was
Yeah.
9 years
Yeah.
old.
Yes. Barclay
You
was
know?
a bookworm.
Yeah. And
He
actually, this poem that I read is in a collection of poems in the Smithsonian.
yeah.
The Smithsonian has his poems. Yeah. Oh no, I wouldn't. Oh, I wouldn't lie to you.
No. Barclay was an extraordinary young man. Uh,
And Jerome, what do you mean? Do you think we are lying to you?
Barclay was for most in his early years. He was an introvert,
Yes,
and
yes,
all he did was books and all that. That's so.
yeah,
Don't doubt it. Don't doubt
yeah.
it.
He started writing when he was 9.
Yeah.
They have a lot of poems for him,
Yeah,
and this
that's
poem was written in 1897. Yeah, and 14-year-old Barclay. Yeah, it's there. It's in his Smithsonian. And,
you see,
it's an old piece of paper, but they have it.
the
Yes,
thing about it is that we're talking about environment. We're talking about nature and nurture. This guy had good nurturing. He
yeah,
had all most of the books to because he was raised as a royal.
yes.
The
His
Barclay
father and his
family. Yes,
uncle were
yes,
presidents.
yes, yes. So and he loved eating books from the biography that we have of him.
And don't forget that, I mean, even in those times, they were teaching Latin and Greek
Yeah, yeah.
in the University of
Eighth
Liberia.
grade, this that from look at Barclay. I mean, look at Blyden. Blyden had for formal education, he had only high school education at Alexander High.
Yeah.
When he arrived in Liberia. So those days, people they were eating book like people eating cayenne.
Yes, degree
Yeah,
was degree.
yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't like
Degree was
now.
degree. What
Now
are
the
you talking
people.
about? Yeah, high school you got from there. You were
Yes.
speaking. People were looking in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was time when education meant
yeah.
education.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah. So
don't
yes,
doubt it
Jerome.
on
Yes,
that.
he was 14 years
Yeah.
old. He started writing poems when he was 9.
Mm-hmm.
Very educated. Wrote a lot of poems. So no, we're not lying to you. But anyway, we say good night. We say, like we always say, keep Liberia in your prayers.
Yeah.
Lifts Liberia up.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your loved one to mask up. We'll see
Yeah.
you next week. We'll probably be doing poems, or we doing a novel.
Stories or
But
something like
yeah,
that.
come prepared.
And
Oh, and somebody
autobiography
said that
or
they wanted to
biography.
know. Huh?
I said autobiography or what biography as well because those things are literature as well.
Yes,
Anyway.
yes, and we will definitely talk to Emmanuel because they have been working on the land laws
Mm-hmm.
in Liberia.
Yeah.
So we will ask him to come on and maybe talk about the deed that everybody's talking about, and about other things concerning land. But thank you very much. We will say again, have a safe weekend, and whether you are a patriot,
Oh
whether
man.
you are a nationalist, whether you are originalist, whether you are Negritutinist, we are all Liberians.
Yeah.
Okay, good night.
We all